been a while since Paul has been back to ride with me. So it is supposed to rain today, but look, it's dry. All the rain chances, so we've got our shoes covered. And so hopefully, if it rains really heavily, I'm gonna stop and put on my sleeves.
Do you struggle with belly fat and nothing works to get it or keep it off?
setup.
Then I've got news for you. Because no matter how many times you've heard you need to eat less and exercise more, diet and exercise will not work if you have this problem. This problem is a growing silent epidemic. Over 1 million Americans are dealing with it, and I'm talking about an overworked liver. If you have an overworked liver, you'll pile on the pounds of belly fat no matter what you do. That's because your liver is your body. What you do. That's because your liver is your body. What you do. That's because your liver is your body. What you do. That's because your liver is your body. What you do. That's because your liver is your body. What you do. That's because.
And so hopefully, if it rains really heavily, I'm gonna stop and put on my sleeves so I can thoroughly test my setup. But it's nice this morning. Finally gotten used to our heat.
Yeah. This is a beautiful morning, man.
Yeah, it's nice. This is a nice morning.
If you stay like this,
It's not gonna warm up much. 81, 82 is the high. So it will rain. Because otherwise it would be 90 or 91. We're rolling. We're a little behind schedule, but what the heck? I like the rain. Got our training wheels on, training tires, Ultra Sport, and we're ready to roll. We'll get some clips for you. We're not looking for any group today. We're just gonna go out and spin. If we come across people, maybe, but we'll get some clips of us out on the road.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We took Creekside Green, went out to Goslin.
Biofilm forms in your underwear. We'll need Lumi's biofilm buster spray. I'm a scientist, and it is my mission to eliminate the odors that are found on your body and in your clothes.
Why is this sudden stink haunting us? We shower, use deodorant, and wash our clothes.
I wrote a book about it. Biofilm is making your clothes stink. It's a colony of bacteria, fungus, and mold detergents leave behind. Lumi's biofilm buster contains a highly concentrated enzyme blend that...
Hey, legends and super legends, welcome to Veloharmony's premiere for all our members. Let's get into it. I hope you all had a great weekend.
We're rolling. We're a little behind schedule, but what the heck? We got the lights on, with the front going.
As I explained last week, the power numbers on the right is a 3-second average. The one on the left is actual power.
It's rained every day this week. Morning.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We're running really behind schedule, so we took the direct route through Sterling Ridge. Right on Sterling Ridge, we got passed by a group. We chased back up to them. We rode to them on Fish Creek. Paul let us go, so I waited because he and I were actually going to the lake. Those guys were just going to Taco Corner. We went out on Highway 830 to 1097. We filmed on 1097. Then we came back and went across the lake. We filmed while crossing the lake. Then we took the forest, that's off camera. We rode into the forest, came down 149, and we stopped at Taco Corner. After that, we headed out, cut back through the neighborhood. Hey Paul, how you doing, man? We started filming on our favorite road, Honia Egypt Road, all the way back into the woodlands. It was kind of a muggy day because of the rains we had. It's rained every day during the week, but I think that you all will enjoy the clips that we're able to get for you. Very pleasant day for a bike ride. I was just telling everybody, I don't know if you knew, but the power number
Trying to catch a group
on the right is 3 second average.
We had been passed by a group on Sterling Ridge.
The one on
We're
the
on
left
branch
is
crossing
actual
here,
power.
and we decided later on to ride with them because they had invited us to join them when they went by. So it probably took us about a couple of kilometers to catch them. It's still early in their ride. They leave from the Whole Foods in the area called Hughes Landing in the Woodlands near Riva Road. So right here we're closing the catch, and then Paul has suggested I go ahead and turn on the camera. So back off the power, we're on the tail end of the group right here.
Let's talk after this, my brother. Wants to do a ride this week for the weekend.
I'm still carrying the camera. I had the camera. Well, Paul suggested I turn on the camera as we wrap up this chase. And so I'm still holding it a little bit. I will give it to him.
I see the girl, it's not a certain man. Looks like they had a tempo. It's not her.
Makes sense. Because they don't leave till 7:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul had thought that when the group went by that a rider from Mo's group was in there. But he was mistaken. That's what he's talking about. And the only person I recognized in this group when they went by was Rudy. And you would hear me because Paul said, no, that's not Rudy. And once we get to the corner, you hear me say, it looks like Rudy. You kind of know people when you've ridden with them just from their form and their style.
Where did you guys start from? So we are coming there from Whole Foods, and we meet at 7, and then we are going to Taco Corner. Oh, okay. But it's a nice route because it's pretty large, so you can go comfortable here. You know? I see.
So we're approaching Branch Crossing.
Yeah, that's our group right there.
There were some riders that went straight on Branch Crossing off camera. The camera didn't really pick them up. That's what Paul's talking about. I thought it was the Team RR guys. Could be.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But
It's you? I told you. I told you. Yeah.
Rudy, I said, that looks like Rudy. And Rudy said, yeah, it's me. And that's what I told Paul. I said, I told you.
Okay, yeah, we'll hang with you guys. I told you, man.
So they asked if we're going to go with them. I asked them where they were going. They said they're going to Taco Corner. I said, yeah, we'll hang with you guys. Because we're headed out there. At this point, we had not decided what we're going to do as usual.
Hey, Adrian.
We'll wait till we head out. And then we
I
make
did
our
not
decision
recognize
once we get
Adrian
out.
on this ride, my brother. I don't remember what he looks like. It's been a long time since we rode with him. So the dynamics in a group like this is different. There's a lot of accelerations. There's very rare for you to find steady pace, especially after intersections. People are always accelerating at the front. And if you're behind, you've got to be vigilant and stay close. Otherwise, you waste a lot of energy closing gaps. Because if the group takes off at the light and you leave a gap, you have to close it. And that's gonna use a lot of energy. So when you're in a group, stay close to the wheels if you're gonna ride with them. And I'm going to demonstrate that. You will see the differences here. I'm using a very high cadence because the speeds are changing.
I wasn't looking, my brother.
All the time. And for most people, this is very high. I'm pedaling 119, 122, and I soft pedal right there. But that allows me to accelerate with very little force from my legs. So I'm taxing my aerobic system. And you have to train accordingly to be able to handle these high cadence accelerations. So you basically end up saving your legs once you get acclimated to riding like that. I changed the way I'm putting things in my pocket.
The same kind of
just to kind of see. I tried it earlier in the week.
The guy that
put
was in
my
Maryland.
essentials kit in the middle, Abby, and it seems to be working pretty well. I love the way it feels. It's going to vary depending on what I'm carrying from week to week, but I'm always playing around with how I distribute
There's
things.
a bike right there. Everybody's getting these new disc brake bikes on their bikes.
Watch when we turn. Look at the power.
If I ever get a bike with discs, it will be the ones that the disc is about the
That's
same
where you
size
expend
as
the
the rear cassette. That looks
I'm not
really
going
aesthetically
that hard, but you can see
pleasing.
300 and some watts.
So the disc is not just
So
obvious.
you need to stay close because if you're further behind, you're going to expend energy just to get back up to speed anyway. And then if you leave a gap, you've got to overcome that resistance of not being in the wheels. So falling behind when you follow the group, if you're going to ride with them, is inefficient. You stay close and save your energy, so when it's time to really ride, you have plenty left and your legs are fresh. It's a humid morning. You know, we've had rain the whole week. So most of us are damp, but as you're riding, it evaporates to where you don't, you're not dripping wet if you're wearing the right kit.
Okay. Hey, Jerry.
So we
You
met
didn't get Jerry on camera
He's
here, man.
Not on camera.
I was looking for him. I was like, where is he?
You'll see
I know
him
we
later.
talked to him.
Once Paul decides to let us go, they come around him, you'll see Jerry.
A sauna with another
But you made up for it later, I think, on Fish Creek. You really got a nice shot of him.
They were talking about a couple of riders from the WCC group had passed us while we were warming up, and Jerry was asking about it. It's early in the ride, we're warming up, quiet roads, so people are spread out a little more. When you're riding like this, the guy on the left here, you need to be concerned about cars. See that car coming? Gotta watch for that. Gotta close it up. So we're trying to get out to the open road. Once we get out on the open road, and the speeds pick up, people automatically tighten up the line. You don't have to say anything, because the people who don't are going to be working their tail off, and they're either going to have to get in the line or maybe choose to work that hard. But most riders will automatically go single file or whatever kind of line you guys are holding. They told us they're only going to taco corner and back. We're doing a little more than that. They turn here. The Team RR guys turn at the next intersection. It was just one block earlier. Pavement's a little crappy on this turn. So the way we turned at that corner, a lot of people have been bitching about that on our neighborhood. So at the intersection coming up, we have a next door neighborhood app in our area. So I've been going on there and educating for us to go. That it's just the first. Some lady said she followed a bunch of cyclists on Glenlock, and I told her, and we're just getting a bad reputation because they're ignorant. The speed. And so I told her, I said, if you're following them, you probably won't see them stop, because first of all, they pick quiet roads to ride on the highway, and only the first two will stop or say clear. I didn't see her in the caboose. So hopefully that will help. Before I decided to wait for Paul. So I also added that, why don't you complain about all the motorists that drive at illegal speeds every day? With a group, when you stop like this, be vigilant, be alert, be ready to clip in and go. She's on the left. You'll hear me ask her if she's okay. Right there. Then I said, come on, because right there she's not even clipped in. She we never saw her reaching in her pocket. Look at where I am. Now right here, look at this gap that Paul has to close. That's where the energy goes. You've got to be close to the wheels. You got to be in there. Because now we're backing off. Look at my watts, 96. So we're backing off while they're still riding up to us. All of that saps your energy.
How are you? All right, I'm good.
I made that motion with my hand to let Paul know to stay close, because Jerry was talking to him on that corner. I told Rudy he's already wet because he squeezed his gloves and perspiration dripped. And so he said, oh, I warmed up to meet this group. He rides from the east side of 45 and then comes into the Woodlands. So that's what he's telling me. He said, oh, I didn't just start riding. And I told him, I know. I don't wear very heavy gloves when it's hot. In fact, since we're doing our own thing, really, I'm not even wearing gloves. Make sure you're comfortable with your bike handling and comfortable with your bike before you start riding without gloves, because you're more at risk if you fall. Your hands don't have the extra protection the gloves give you. Most times in the group, depending on the weather, I will try to wear gloves. But when it's very sticky and hot, I just, when the tape I have on my bars, I prefer to just go bare hands, because the leather tape is not slippery. But still, it's better to wear gloves to protect your hands. See how my jersey is wet, it's humid. So mostly fall, spring, winter, I always wear gloves. But when it's sticky and muggy, when I ride solo, I'll ride bare hands most of the time. So as you ride more and you get more experience and you choose to ride without gloves, just be aware that your hands are more vulnerable should you crash. Not that the gloves protect you against everything, but it's good to have that extra layer of protection. When it's just Paul and I'm bare hands most of the time. You're riding against around a lot of experienced riders, yeah. Paul's been riding enough, Paul's smooth. And that was our plan today, was to just, since we're running behind anyway, we're just gonna head out and do our own thing. because we're with this group, look at the speeds, 45 kilometers an hour. That's about 27 miles an hour. So most of the time we're doing 27, 28 miles an hour. That's the benefit of being in a group. And this is zone 2 for me anyway. So between 26, 28 miles an hour is where we're cruising with these guys. And when we get down this hill, once the road levels off, after that point it starts going up. So we're dealing with repeated rollers. So the efforts really hit you. And if the recovery is not top notch, it's hard on the body. I stayed to the left here because that's the main reason Paul lets us go, because he's not recovering as quickly as he was 6 weeks ago, because he's been off for a month. So when we ride, after we let the group go, I do most of the pulling, because that way I get to work and he can sit in the draft and work a little less. He was telling me that the camera was facing a little more upwards than we're used to, and I told him that. Later on, it wasn't here, I told him that I leave that a little loose so that we can adjust it when we go in the drops to get a different view, you know. But he just wasn't aware I had left it a little looser than we normally have. It gives us more flexibility. So he was just letting me know, hey, this thing was loose. Yeah, we have the camera like this, and we have the ability to go through like a train. Since the first guys got the green, we're at the, well, we like the middle. There's a bunch of riders behind us. Look at the speeds. These guys are moving. Drift a little to the left, and once they start going again, I'll drift back behind Rudy. There's always that yo-yo. That's why you got to be in a proper gear, so every time they accelerate, you're not straining. You just spin the gear. See right there, watch the acceleration. See the watts? 500 plus. Somebody we're working hard here. Now this is a huge gap. Paul should be closer. That costs you energy. Pay for it later. So we're doing about 26 miles an hour. I'm right at the sweet spot. So every time the group slows down, you've got to, like, if that's an opportunity, if you're thirsty, take a little drink, but you gotta be ready to go again. You can tell when the pace picks up. The acceleration is instant. And if you're not in the proper gear or you're not alert, you hit the wind. See, I'm soft pedaling. I'm ready for anything they bring. That's how you have to ride. Right there, somebody accelerated. So gearing is critical. As the road goes around the curve in the distance, there's a slight grade. So these grades are felt more than seen on Fish Creek. But that's where you have to put in the effort, and then here you can kind of soft pedal, catch a drink, get ready, but stay alert. Always be alert. Stay close to the wheels in front of you. Anything over 200 watts in the draft, you're working. Because even if you're very tired, psychologically, if you're on a wheel, you can grit your teeth longer and say, man, I'm gonna try to hold this wheel. Versus you're trying to close to a wheel when the power is being applied. It's hard. That's why you need to be fitted to your bike. Because when you need to go faster, you shouldn't have to be moving around. You just pedal harder. You can see
My heart rate has
coming into the bottom of zone 4 here. And it changes. I let them know green up. And when I'm riding, I don't look at it that much. I might glance. There's quite a few riders. There's 2 or 3 riders in front of us here. I'm watching. They look like a guy in the purple right there in front of Rudy. Rudy's on my right. That guy in the purple and light and a few white spots on his jersey there. He's struggling. I can tell. And so the reason is I keep my eye on riders like that because that's where the gaps will happen. And when the gaps occur, you need to be able to go around them quickly. So when you're following people that look like they're struggling and they're about to fall off their pace, as soon as a half bike lane opens and it looks like they're not closing it, you want to get around them quickly and get in there so you're not closing a large gap. Now Paul is following better here. That's where he needs to be, right there. Somebody's pulling off the front. You can see how the power drops when I soft pedal. The power display on this thing on the right is 3 seconds. The power display on the left is actual power. So it's gonna jump around more. The one on the left, the one on the right is giving you the average for 3 seconds of power data. So it's slightly smoother. But they eventually get there. You can see the 3 second will get to 0 slightly after the actual power jumps. And the same thing will happen. The actual power will jump quicker, and then the 3 second will have to average his way up there. So you can see it's like 369. The other one was 4 something, and they flip. But that's the way you want to do it, especially if you're studying the data. So right here, we're going on the right here. We're going up a climb. You can see the watts, almost 500. We're doing about 22, 23 miles an hour, up a 2% grade. It's going to go 2 to 3%. It's going to continue. Riders are struggling. That rider on the right is falling off the pace. She's falling off the pace. The guy who I was concerned about, he's to the right. He's falling off the pace too. Then these guys were behind Paul, and they're coming around. This is where Paul decides to let us go. That's Jerry there. I think Paul has set a limit like 171 or 170 something heart rate. So when he hit it, he backed me in the distance. Once those guys that were behind Paul came around, I looked and noticed he wasn't there. Knowing that we're going further and we were gonna do our own thing, these guys will only go into Taco Corner. I went ahead and turned off the power. So I'm just kind of, I wouldn't call it soft pedaling. I'm riding, but not hard, so he can catch up. I'm riding in zone 2. So he'll have to do about zone 3 to catch me. We're about probably 3 kilometers from the overpass. So we go straight on the overpass and we go to the lake. I just keep the effort in zone 2. I figure he'll ride up to me. Because with those guys, I was in sweet spot, so I just dropped it a couple of zones.
My heart rate hit 171, I had to back off.
All right, legends, we're at the lake. Well, we're not at the biggest part of the lake. Look at that, that's pretty.
So what Paul was talking about is that his heart rate kept spiking and his recovery was not happening as quickly as he is used to. So he decided to not stay at 171 for an extended period of time. You know, it'll take him a few weeks to where he can work on his recovery. So when we ride together on this ride, I stay at the front longer so I can get the work I need, and then he can sit in and get to stress his system because he missed a block of training. And this will give him a chance to acclimate. bumps where they connect the bridges, I kind of on-weight the pedals to go across them. We're headed west on the FM 1097 towards Lake Conroe. I use the mirror to keep my eye on traffic before I move over. There was a lot of little debris. When there's a lot of debris, if you have to go through them, stand up, because there's other stuff that you can't see usually in those little rocks and stuff. That's where you can get little punctures. We had come down that road in the past with Team RR from the north side. It's called Long Street.
Yeah, that's the one we came down that way.
It was very windy that day. So as the light changes, as I go, I keep my eye on the traffic. Always just glancing, making sure what's happening behind me, you know. So when we got near the forest, Paul was pulling, and he was pulling so well, I told him, well, it's kind of early to go to Taco Corner, let's go north. So we ended up going through the forest because he started to ride better. So this will take him a few weeks to get back to the fitness he had. Once you miss a block of training, it's kind of hard like that. Even if you're riding indoors, it's not the same. You got to get some high intensity rides in your legs. So most of our ride, we stay at the top of zone 2, and unless we're climbing, then we might go up maybe tempo or sweet spot. But by staying at the top of zone 2, it's enough of a stress to where if you do enough of it, when I stand, I keep my eye on Paul, and what I try to do is to keep the effort about the same. I'm barely creeping out of zone 2. But I try to keep it right there so that even though I'm standing and he's sitting, the tempo is about the same. I stand to work harder, and because it feels different, it feels better. So I've been sitting for a while. But sometimes it just feels good to stand for a little bit. You can see when I sit, the watts drop. You're not recruiting as many muscles as when you stand. Very humid on Saturday, but still a nice. It's not very aerodynamic, but it sure feels good at this point. It's a little sticky, but once we hit the lake, I will zip my jerseys up because the lake has a lot more wind than right here. And I just didn't want that thing flapping too much. Yeah, the lake is coming up, so what I do is I go ahead and I've got to get that zipper down in there, and I zip it up. Not all the way, about halfway. This is the Suki sports jersey. You can see how well it fits me. I think Paul needed a longer warm-up on this ride because the way he started riding consistently with the right training plan, that's the key, because otherwise it's hard to maintain your fitness over a long period of time. So we're going to try to warm up next time at least close to an hour. We can be ready to go. glad we went out there. This is pretty. Instead of just riding the taco corner all the time. It's not much to see there. It's getting windier as we approach the largest expanse of the lake here. So I get low and I try to settle into some kind of rhythm here. I'm not sure which I prefer, the tops or the drops, but sometimes the drops just feel better. So I don't know if it's psychological, but the main reason for using the drops is when you're in close proximity to other riders and you need more control. That's the position to be in. But a lot of times when I'm cruising, I just get on the tops and make my arms horizontal. It's not as windy as it has been in the past in this lake. So it was a calmer day. I was trying to stay around 20 miles an hour because I looked at a speedometer and we were close to it. And I figured, okay, let's see if we can at least hold this. So it's important that you have your fit checked and rechecked if you have any discomfort. If you look at my feet, they look like they're slapping the pedals. That comes from having those cleats aligned properly and 4F on the cleats adjusted right. Your feet should not be getting numb when you ride. Yeah. Your feet need to be free. That's a problem with your setup. You can see I'm driving the pedals. The wind is hitting me, and I'm trying my best to keep our pace about the same. I'm creeping into tempo zone here. Hey Jeffrey, what's TNR? Training ride? You can ride indoors, man. Don't let the storm stop you. Listen to that Tuesday breeze. It's nice. Okay. I mean, it was very comfortable crossing the lake. I actually enjoyed the wind on here. Copy. I get a little lower. I was able to get out this morning, but it started to drizzle around probably 11:30. But nothing substantial. So I don't, I was able to get a little bit. Sometimes being in the drops just feels good when you need to counterbalance your pedaling. Pretty much pull on the bar. If you're not able to use the drops on your bike, you're not set up correctly. You should be able to use all the positions on your bars. There are at least 6 positions on a standard road bar. The wind is pushing us. I'm doing my best. Every time you go across the lake, it's just breezing. It felt good though. This time of year, I lighten the load on everything. The socks are lightweight socks. Jerseys lightweight. You've got to do that. It's just too humid to wear heavy stuff. You should have socks for warm weather and socks for very hot weather. Yeah, Jeffrey. Actually, it's getting to where I'm wearing more of the sleepy stuff than anything else. I tried to keep the pace. I'm trying to get them to put those little side pockets on there. The wind is picking up, so I can put my phone in there. And there's a slight grade. She's saying it's going to add to the cost. There was a slight grade back there, and all your jerseys are different anyway. It's going to be an incline. They got nice stuff. As soon as we hit land, I want her to put all the little accessories that the other guys have. I think I end up standing here just to change the rhythm. If you do get it, make sure you use our code. It's up to 15% now. So whenever I get it, I make sure I use it. Yeah, right there. I gotta stand just to change things up. I try to keep the rhythm steady So it does not affect the person following you that much. So they don't have to raise their pace when you stand. It's funny you said they need a VH edition. I'm thinking, I mentioned that to Paul, I'm gonna try to see if they can replicate or create a jersey for us or something. I'm sure they can do stuff like that, but we'll see. They need some. They just need to add those little side pockets with a zipper, vertical zipper. I don't like the ones on the back, on the side, so you can put stuff in there. That saves the standard pockets. That would be nice. That's about the only thing I like on the other jerseys I have that they don't have. But it's not a deal breaker. I like this color. Paul and I both have this color. I think we stopped running the camera and then we switch it back on. After this, Paul pulled for like 10 kilometers all the way to the forest. Egypt. So I said, let's go in the forest because after riding, I think he was finally ready to ride. Pulls for about probably that's what I'm talking. 10 kilometers. Pull for a while until we get to the forest. And then I was like, okay, let's go through the forest. So we added more miles. I thought he was going to be tired, but once he got fully warmed up, it's only good for trash. That's funny. It was fun. Yeah, I like the vertical ones that have a sleeve on the inside.
Let's close this. We're sneaking out through the entrance gate here.
This is no car behind us.
On the way back,
favorite road.
Wrapping up another ride.
The hat I'm wearing is specifically designed for hot weather. It's not a cotton cap that we'll wear in the winter. So don't wear a cotton cap when it's humid and hot. You will overheat. I've got like 4 or 5 of the super stuff now. Polyester elastane, like our jerseys. I've got a comparison on their shorts coming out well soon. So I either use a bandana or I use those lightweight hot weather caps. They keep the sweat out of my eyes. And I like the bill on that cap. It keeps the sun out of my eyes as well. You have to adjust the bill properly so that it doesn't block your view when you're in the riding position. Paul said it feels great on your skin. You got that right. Yeah, Paul wore his orange jersey, I think, a couple of weeks ago or something. I saw that. I said, man, I got to break out my orange again. And it looks good on camera now. It comes through pretty well. We got orange, we got green. I think we got kind of a combination, so yellow and purple. The biggest thing is when it's very hot, you want to make sure you have enough water. You don't want to run out. So we stop at least every 2 hours and we load up, even if it's just stopping at a park to get some water. I'm adjusting that mirror on the left side. I must have bumped it or something. Yeah, be careful with the caps. Now, I don't wear the cotton caps. That's why I just mentioned. For me, the cotton caps are a bit hot. They don't breathe as well. The ones we have, I've been looking for more, but I haven't found any more. Rafa sold them out or something. But they're made out of the same material our jerseys are made out of. And they breathe a lot better. In fact, Paul and I stopped at the store on this ride. I poured water on my head, and it's almost like he's mortar pacing. And so when we left, I'm going to drift back a little bit, then I'm going to speed back up to him. Yeah, like if he's messing with the camera, he knows my pace is consistent, and so he can adjust his effort better. You can't do that in a group because the group's surging. But this will allow him to get in shape quickly. Summer material cap. We'll look into that, yeah. I like the lightweight stuff or something. It's good to have. So if you've ever done motor pacing, this is someone like it. Because he could sit behind and vary his cadence based on how he feels. There goes the law-abiding motorists. You missed the joke, Jeffrey. I was talking about our neighborhood people complaining on the neighborhood app. We have a neighborhood app where people post things going on in the neighborhood. They're always complaining about cyclists that we don't follow the law. And so I had to get involved commenting this week, letting them know that you guys break the law every time you get on the road. You drive at illegal speeds. You never really stop.
I'm trying to avoid the area that's been graded.
If everybody was posting because of motorists, this board would be full.
And you will see one will come to it's really bumpy, and what Paul will do is he'll hold up the camera so it doesn't rattle, because it's a little trickier around the last curve before the
keep that sun off your head. It
gets us out of
sometimes the UV.
The Honia Egypt Road to Fish Creek. I stand up here just to keep the gear rolling, because this is a slight grade, and we're going into the wind. In the summer, most of the time, the wind is from the southeast in our area.
We're going directly into the wind here. That sucker's whipping, and all I'm thinking about is that hill at the end. Got to save something.
So by doing that, I don't have to downshift. I just stand a few strokes, because it's a short grade. Just gonna kick the gear over and sit back down and get back into the rhythm. We've got that climb coming at the end, so I'm keeping the effort to where my legs are not gonna protest too much when we get to that climb.
Until I met Paul, I had no idea how I looked on a bicycle. I mean, everything felt good, but that was about it. And the first time he filmed me, I was like, man, that looks cool.
Paul's adjusting the camera. I think he put it in the drops. You'll notice that you'll get a different view, more of a lower view. I think that's what he's doing there.
You go to hours for entertainment. Yeah, I don't mind hours because they talk about missing pets. Like, you know, even our daughter didn't come home from school one day. I posted it on there. They knew where she was. They helped.
Because this is what I was talking about. So he was messing with the camera,
you know.
So now he opened the gap.
Stuff. So
well, he's got to work to close that gap.
To complain about.
So even though the pace is
cyclists
steady,
all the
he's
time,
challenging
we're
himself.
the only ones not
and then
following
sometimes
the
he'll
rules.
drift
That's why I
back
got involved.
to intentionally work
I said,
harder.
if I complain
as we're
about
riding,
motorists,
because I can see in the
post
mirror where
every
he
day.
is.
I said, because you're one of them. And you
It's
probably
okay to do this when you're riding,
broke
let's say
the
one
law
or two
today
riders,
in
and
your
you want
car.
to do that. But in the group, if you do that, you will just work so much harder.
and it
because
went
you don't
across.
know
I was
when
trying
they're
to
going
accomplish something.
accelerate
It basically says,
and
stop
gap.
whining.
And every time you close the gap,
We have the
it
right
takes
to
a
use
lot
the
out of
road.
you.
Just be a little patient and go around when it's clear. They're saying that when we're in a group, we don't stop. But they don't understand that if you're behind the group, you're not going to see the group stop. The front riders stop, and then the group goes through like a train. So I had to let them know. Just a little bit of education for our average.
So he knows I'm going to keep the
citizen.
effort the same. So like I was doing like 20 miles an hour, 19 to 20 into the wind.
Ours is
so
an
he's
app.
going to
So,
just
yeah, I do it on my computer. I don't have to
do
go
what
anywhere.
he's doing back here. He's going to pick up the camera here as we go around this curve. I'm going to ride the edge. He's going to ride the graded surface, because he's more comfortable with that in that curve. It's very narrow, and then you got those reflectors. So you don't. So he held the camera up so it wouldn't rattle too much. So I downshift here a bit because the wind picks up and we're heading slightly up, and then it's going to kick up in the distance. You can see it coming. And there's never any wind on that climb. It just gets hot. The trees block everything. So right about here, it starts to kick up. Well, I plan to use like a 62-inch gear. I'm staying on a big chain ring, and I think I ride a 5323. I have a 27 tooth cog on there. For this 5%, I don't need it. But I stay in the 5323, which is like a 3917. I stand when we hit
the 5%, that's where this is right here, to get over the gradient. And then once the gradient goes down a little bit, changes the rhythm, and then I sit. But the whole time I'm doing that, I'm keeping my eye on the other road users. That truck was back there. That's why you saw me pretty much on the edge of the pavement. In a little while, you'll see me wave Paul away from the edge because there's a piece of barbed wire that is lying across the road. And we don't see it till we come up on it. That's another reason you have to constantly be reading the road. You'll see me wave him over. So we go around the barbed wire. Right there. There's a piece of barbed wire, there's some fencing in that bush, and it looked like a piece broke off and is lying on the road. You know, the cars have been rolling over it, so it's kind of down there, but still, you don't want to go over barbed wire on a bike, because one of those things can puncture your tire. I think at this point I shift up a little bit. I'm trying to keep my rhythm about the same. I think it's somewhere in the curve I'm gonna shift up to like a 53-21, which is like a 65-inch gear or something like that. See the power going up? This road is deceiving. It gets harder right there. Then about 39, around here again, it's gonna kick back up. Look, 201. So after you finish climbing, you think you're done, but you're not. You have to be conservative. In the group, I use larger gears. I pedal harder on this climb. But when we're riding solo, I want to feel the effort throughout. And so what I do is I use a gear that I can turn as the pitch deepens. I want to be able to turn it comfortably without breaking our rhythm, without surging and that kind of stuff. So the dynamics are different when you're in the group. You can see the power go down is leveled off. We're going directly into the east wind here. So the wind is coming from straight in front and the right. Giro Peloton. I'll check it out. I'll check out that cat. You can look it up tomorrow when we do our live session. It's a slight grade right here, and then right up front it's going to level off and then go to the right and go downhill. And all I do is I make sure I get in the appropriate gear to keep my rhythm consistent. I'm staying a little to the right so Paul can have a little more room. He's slightly off to my left. So if I were riding solo, I would be where Paul is. I'm staying to the right so both of us can just use this half of the lane, which enables the drivers to see around us easier and execute their paths. I found the cap. Looks good. All kinds. They got my color too. That's a crazy looking orange. You are not required to do that. It's just a courtesy. We're approaching Fish Creek Thoroughfare in the distance. It's almost noon, so you know, The town is up and we're coming back in town. So the volume of cars increase. I actually prefer riding out of town. So we stopped behind this car. Since they took the time to pass us, there's no point sneaking on the right side and all that kind of foolishness I see cyclists doing. Just wait. You know, because it's like there's not a perfect shoulder here, so we're using the road anyway. You could do it here. I mean, you could, because the shoulder continues, that's fine, but it just made sense to just sit behind them. And then right here, we just get back on the shoulder. So you could have gone, but most of the time resist the urge to slide by the right side of cars and then get back in front of them when they've taken the time to pass you, especially on roads that don't have shoulders to where both of you sharing the lane. If they've taken the effort to pass you, let them stay in front, get behind them, and let them go on by their business and you continue your ride. You can see it's hot. Look at that sky. It warmed up and it felt very hot when we stopped. When we were moving,
yeah, I just found the cap, man. It looks good. I'm trying to find a color.
So it was a fabulous day to be on the bike. That's why we rode as long as we did.
I like that they shortened the brim because the brim gets in your way if it's not done right.
So once we got out there,
that's good to put a lot of thought into it.
Paul was riding so well,
Amazon,
coming back on 1097. I told him, hey man, let's go visit the forest. He's like, yep. That's what you got to do. You don't feel great, shorten the ride. Feel great, extend the ride if you have time. So I hope you got a chance to get out there and get some K's in. This is part of what we did on Saturday. So right here, this light is red. We couldn't get over to make our left turn. So we turned into this little street here in the subdivision, do a U-turn. And then the light happened to still be green. So I told him we can make it. And we sneak across. All right, guys, have a good evening. Glad you could join us. We'll see you all tomorrow at the